Do you think longevity is a disease?
The aging process starts at 30 years old.
30 years old?
Yeah. In the early 30s is when the immune system is the first system that age. They call, in late terminology, zombie cells. Zombie. And another approach that is out there is not sustainable is people that get blood from younger people. But it's because they are getting the immune cell from younger person, but it's not sustainable. You depend on blood transfusion.
The world shut down. So the border shut down. All the meetings that we had got canceled. Basically, everyone said, we're kind of a triage. We have to work with our companies that we've invested in, come back to us in a few months. We don't know what's going to happen.
Great question. So we are developing a multimodal site-directed immunotherapy. What that means, multimodals are treatment that have more than one mechanism of action.
I see. So you want the immune system to eat that.
The first mistake that we made was the manufacturing. Based on someone recommended work with that CROs because have good reputation and they really damaged my product. But that is in part I blame myself because we didn't do more research. We just follow someone.
All right. How do we create drugs that maybe span a few of these indications? Right now, from my understanding, is there's legislation being posed that there will be a framework, fingers crossed, by 2027, where you'll be able to go to the FDA and get accepted as a longevity drug.
Can live over 120 years.
That's it? I thought 200 years.
We got to start. Let's start somewhere. Right?
Incremental progress.
Yeah.
I just recorded a podcast with founders of Cura Therapeutics in this beautiful city of Montreal. Stick around to learn how you can activate the immune system to reverse aging and help people live maybe 200 years or more. How can you activate the immune system to treat diseases like cancer? In this podcast, you will learn how can you build a biotech startup from scratch? How can you grow the company? How can you bring product to market after regulatory approval and much more? Stick around. So welcome to the show. Really super excited, especially because of your focus on anti-aging, longevity, oncology. I would love to start with a story. You started Cura Therapeutics. So what is your story? How did you guys come together, teamed up, and decided to start the company? What's your story?
I guess I could start. Sure. Well, my background, again, like I'd mentioned, I was working at a marketing communication company. I'd worked with a lot of startups, companies in different industries, from retail to manufacturing. And then towards the latter part of my career, I started working in life science. I've known Claudia for almost 16 years now. So while she was doing her PhD, we have a lot of conversations about this incredible new field of immunology that she's working in, these breakthroughs, these fusion proteins that they're designing, and the possibilities and the capabilities. This is very early on. I said, one day we should start a company around this. Sounds fantastic. And at the point she was in the middle of her PhD, overwhelmed with papers and research. She's like, that's crazy. I can't even, I got to focus on just getting my experiments. But it was always in the back of the mind. And through this process, she was at McGill. And then when she was doing her postdoc, McGill had opened up these programs. They had McGill X1, which is a really interesting program where people can germinate ideas. It was an incubator, an accelerator, where we could work on these kind of ideas and flesh them out and talk to KOLs and see what is the framework? Is this possible? Is this an idea or is this an academic paper? And through that process, we met some really great people. I think one of the most interesting parts of that program is it brought us to different markets. So we did a demo day in New York, Toronto, San Francisco, Boston. And it was in San Francisco where we met some really incredible people. And they were very excited about what we're doing. And that kind of stuck in our mind. And we said, well, when you're starting a startup, the technology, it really depends what ecosystem is really going to support you. And at that time, because it was very new and novel, we felt that was a great place to start. So through that process, we actually went to this program called, we said the X1, and we won the Dobson Cup in McGill. So after that, we decided, this is a monumental task. We want to start an immunology company to cure cancer. We're just a little startup. And where is this? Where are we going to be? How can you say? Where are we going to find traction? So we applied to a program called Berkeley Skydeck. Fantastic program, accelerated program in Berkeley, California. And through that process, we were accepted. It's a very, very high bar to get in. I think it's only a 1.5 reception rate or 2% for biotech. We were like one of the few first cohorts, international cohorts in biotech to be accepted into the program. Fantastic program, 6 months in California. And through that process, we met incredible KOLs, pharmacy. We were able to expand our scientific advisory board. We brought in these fantastic scientific advisors, Dr. Alan Ashworth, he's at UCSF, and Deborah Charrick. She's a serial entrepreneur. She's worked in companies from Nectar to Raise Bio that was acquired recently. They're doing radiotherapy. So fantastic people. So having this wealth of knowledge, we were able to lay the groundwork to start our company. We actually were able to do a small raise. We raised a small amount of money, but we always wanted to build our company in Canada. So that was a bit of a sticking point because we were there, and they said, "Okay, now you're a California company. You're going to open up your Delaware C Corp, and you're going to be an American company." And we said, "Well, we would actually like to go back to Canada." And they were like, "Are you crazy? No one wants. Like, once you're here, you want to stay here." And we said, "No, but we do want to have two companies." So like we set up a subsidiary in the States and we set up one in Canada. And we said, Canada is a great place with a lot of the support systems for early stage companies.
Totally.
For research.
Totally.
For preclinical research and a lot of talent, access to great universities. And we started looking around at real estate space and lab space in California. And at the time it was at the peak. It was like end of 2019, early 2020, just before COVID. And it was crazy. There's no space for rent. Trying to get people to work in the lab was very competitive. You're competing against all these Series A, Series B companies that are offering stock option packages and huge salaries. And we're just this little startup with very, very short runway at the time. So we said, listen, we talked to our investors. We said, listen, this is what we can accomplish. And this is what we can do in this ecosystem, leveraging some of the non-dilutive funding and research grants that we have here and working with some of the universities. And they sort of gave us our blessing and said, well, go for it. It sounds great. Do it. And that was one of the best decisions we ever made. Because I think with a limited amount of capital, we were able to do so much and get so much runway. So, I think to startups out there, really look at what are the resources you can achieve and where can you find them. And sometimes it might mean traveling to another country to meet investors, but pieceworking all this together to build your company, to have that kind of approach, I think was very, very monumental for us.
I couldn't agree more. We went to YC about 5 years ago, and we had a lot of pressure from fellow founders, advisors to move the company, flip the company to the US. But we decided to stay in Canada. Like you said, to do R&D, it's very affordable. Like, there are many government supports. You have grants, you have local advisors, you have tax rebates like SHRED. We won a couple of AI grants. So, plus exceptional talent from Waterloo, from McGill, you name it. In Toronto, a couple of universities we work with. But I think for R&D, for setting the foundation, Canada is arguably the best place.
It's growing now. The ecosystem is growing. But like when we started, was kind of a less support for a therapeutic company, but now they are part of Canada. And the ecosystem for therapeutic is really developed.
Right. And fortunately, what's happening south of the border, now I can see there's quite a bit patriotism. People want to build in Canada. There's quite a bit made in Canada movement, which is a great thing because there are pros and cons of every place. But Canada has a lot to give to early stage companies.
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge for Canadian companies is that it's the access to the venture capital,
that's
investment capital. So growth, when you get to your growth stage, you have to think bigger, and any company has to do that. And you have to. The reality is, it's an economy that's scales 10, 20 times the size of our economy. So access to capital is always going to be south of the border, or Europe, or Asia.
Talent,
and talent is, there's talent here too, but once you go through that growth stage, you have to start thinking maybe you're going to have to open up a subsidiary or an office just to bring in certain people at the later stage, clinical development stage for sure. But I agree with you. I think that was the decision we said in the early stage. We would have the best use of funds to advance our runway working in this environment. And it was the right choice for us for sure.
Right. And what's your title? What's your role in the current company?
I'm the Chief Business Officer.
Chief Business Officer. And you are the CEO?
Yes, I take care of all the interaction with CROs, planning the experiment, data analysis, everything related to the scientific part.
More CEO and CSO.
CSO, yes.
Right. And calling finance, contracts, taxes.
We're multitasking. That's what I think.
All startups.
Yeah, all startups. Where each day, sometimes I'm working in accounting, sometimes I'm the courier, sometimes I'm the business working on phoning and raising capital. But that's normal for startups.
Totally.
You have, you're trying to grow this baby, and you're bringing in people. And then we work with scientists too. We brought in METAX program here in Canada. It's fantastic. We're able to bring in some really talented postdocs and master's students to work sometimes for a 3-month period or 6 months in the lab, which is really, we've been leveraging that as well.
Totally. We work with CROs too, that are, established organizations that have already infrastructure to run all the in vitro, in vivo experiment. So we do a lot of optimization in the lab protocols, and then we transfer to the CROs and they replicate that. And it's like a third-party validation of the work that we are doing. The discovery part we do in our lab. But then all the validation step, we do it with CROs that have animal facilities, have more scientists, more equipment.
So more discovery, meaning more molecule design, even synthesis?
The design, the early discovery, we do it in-house.
Right.
And then once we have the patent already submitted, then we transfer the rest of the experiment for validation in vitro and in vivo with CROs.
I see. Do you have any advice for a biotech startup, how to distribute work, or how much you want to do in-house, or what type of work you want to delegate to external partners? Like you mentioned, your discovery is still in-house after patent. When it's safe, secure, you delegate some of the work, more repeatable work to external partners.
Sure. Yes, I suggest to try to do the discovery part as in your lab.
Yeah.
Because even if with CROs you sign legal documentation, NDA or that, but still it's risky.
Right.
And once you have indication, early application of your technology, this already describe or characterize the mechanism of action, it's a good time to start interacting with other organizations, even academia. Can establish collaboration and for more like validation, like in vitro, in vivo experiment that validate the application of your initial discovery.
If you have to dumb it down, when you create a drug discovery company, what steps you have to take? Do you have to start with your target? When you say discovery, I'm trying to understand for normal people who don't necessarily have experience in drug discovery. So you had your target, then you design molecule, right? What exactly is that discovery process that you do in-house, and then what part you outsource to CROs?
Well, we have a platform that combines AI protein modeling, experimental assays, and pathway analysis. So we do the pathway analysis, what leads us to define the target based on knowledge, many years of experience. And with a protein modeling, AI-driven protein modeling platform, we design a chimeric protein that normally doesn't exist in nature, are based on protein from the immune system, but the way they are not fused or they are not, and then we bioengineer those proteins using AI.
Makes sense. So you know the targets based on your previous research. You design molecules that can bind with those targets, and then you have patents on those molecules.
Yes,
Exactly.
and then once we bioengineer the protein using software for that specific task, then we do a lot of characterization of that. We already have implemented over 20 functional assays that characterize all the properties, and then after that we submit the patent, and then we can interact with CROs for validation in different mouse models, disease.
Do you want to move the mic to closer?
Yeah, and I would just add a comment for PIs or scientists who are looking to start companies. The patent and the IP is a really crucial part of the formation of the company, and for young PIs and postdocs and PhDs to understand that there's a they always want to publish their work because there's a pressure to publish, but you have to be in how can you say in sync with your PI to make sure that you get your provisional patent in first. If you really think you have a discovery, you think you have something that's novel, that has the potential to become a drug, talk to your PI and get that provisional patent in. Because if you go out and present posters or if you write a paper, you don't have a patent anymore.
That's true. It's already public knowledge.
It's public knowledge. Yeah. And that it might not come back maybe, and you know what, patent office might not even find that. But down the road, another pharma will.
Yeah.
And they'll come and they'll just basically say this was prior to art. This didn't,
that's the first step. Is you have to protect your invention,
right?
Even before any publication, before any poster. Once you disclose your invention, you miss the chance to have it.
Totally. Yeah. Totally. So you're saying once your IP strategy is clear, you have some protection, then you want to start leveraging external partners more. Yeah. So that's how you do it. But that's super. I think most companies I'm seeing these days are virtualizing their research, right? They're focusing on things that gives them competitive edge, right? So it's something proprietary, something that comes under their domain of power, their zone of genius. They keep that in-house. Rest of the work is delegated to CROs or academic labs or core labs.
Yeah.
That's great. But I do want to go back to your story, right? So what is your story? When did you decide to start a company, team up with Collin?
Yeah, that's a good question because, I did my PhD at the Lady Davis Institute, Seagal Cancer Center. And that's where I started working that line of research, immunotherapies. I was lucky to land in that lab specializing regenerative medicine and immunotherapy, led by Dr. Jack Galipo. And that was the beginning of basically the project that I was developing was to identify target signaling pathway that activate immune cell against cancer and at the same time protect the immune cell from the effect, the immunosuppressive effect of the tumor, the cancer in general, because as cancer progresses, the immune system get impaired.
Right.
And lose the capacity to fight back.
So you think that's the cancer cells suppresses?
Yes,
they suppress the immune system. They're very smart cells.
Yeah, they are very smart. And many diseases, the first thing that they do is kind of attack the immune system, the same impair the immune system function. And as you can see, for instance, HIV patient, the virus doesn't. It's not the harm that the virus does. It's what affect the immune system ability to fight the virus. And you look at many diseases, the immune system get impaired, and then the person gets sicker and sicker. So that was the rationale behind. And then once we developed that technology, then I did more projects. I even continued to my postdoctoral study. Didn't cross my mind to become an entrepreneur. And then once I was working at the National Research Council of Canada for almost 3 years.
Right.
We heard about the program, McGill's one, for basically they teach you the basis to become to have your own company, to start the business. And that's where we decided to start Cura Therapeutics.
Love it. Love it. I'd like you to talk about your journey as a scientist, now as a CEO, entrepreneur, because scientists by default are tinkerers, right? They like to experiment. Running an experiment generally means you're ready to fail. I mean, when you start a company, you run experiments too. But as a business person, you generally look for one thing and figure out the scalability, right? You have to standardize more things. What was that transition? How was that journey from scientist to an entrepreneur? And what is different in both worlds?
Yeah, that's have been a challenge because, as you say, scientists always are curious to do many things at the same time. And as an entrepreneur, you really have to be focused. You have to drive the company in one direction, be very, how can I say, capital efficient.
Yeah, I think that's where I come.
And that's one part of the challenge. The other major challenge was to communicate the invention in a very, how can I say, late terminology. So can be understood by the majority of investors and KOL that have been a journey that we had the chance to be part of many accelerators and incubators, including Berkeley Skydeck was a really good teaching how to communicate your technology and all the aspect of the company that we as a scientist we don't know until we get those lessons, that training and that interaction with KOLs.
Right. You mentioned a few things. You said the difference is when you work as an academic researcher, you don't necessarily have to learn to communicate in layman terms, right? You're interacting with fellow PhDs, very sharp people. Plus, you have support of the university behind you when you do research, right? You have all these lab spaces. And as a startup founder, you have to be extra careful how you spend that money. How do you perform the research? You said capital efficient approach. So what else you see the difference in both worlds?
The other part is learn many, how we say, terms and concepts that I wasn't familiar, like a business model, how basically how to plan your experiment in very strategic way that you don't go beyond the scope of
to stay focused.
Yes, how to stay focused, because I'm a type of scientist that I see something here or less experience. That's in a company, you cannot do that. You really have to follow you already show to the investor, this is the milestone for the next 5 years. We have to really stick to that path.
Totally.
And we cannot go. That's something that requires training.
Totally. That's my biggest lesson learned too. Like scientists, they're creative people. They need always this intellectual stimulation all the time. But if you want to scale a business, right, you have to pick your lane and then be willing to do some boring work.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you cannot scale the business.
Exactly. And the budget has to be like for that. No.
100%.
The minute you go beyond that, it's like you're spending extra money that wasn't in there.
You need good distribution. You still want to innovate, maybe 20%,
exactly.
But 80% should be more, I would say, focused. But you have business experience. I think it's a great complementary founding team.
Working, I won't say how many years, working in businesses where projects were mandated, budgets were counted, pennies were counted. I come from a totally different approach. It's about hitting goals, hitting deadlines. capital efficiencies? What can we achieve with this? What with this experiment? What milestones? Or how can we expand the experiment to get more milestones in a cost-effective way at looking at it? And that's a good rapport, I think, because as a scientist, Claudia's background is to do this exploratory work to find out, and then having someone come in from a financial perspective saying, well, okay, so we're going to allocate this. What else can we do here? Can we maximize this experiment? Is there a way to attain some other data point that'd be very significant for the investors? Like thinking in these terms is really important. Okay. And getting feedback from our advisors as well. And I think another thing when you're talking to startups, listen to your advisors, but it's your company. And advisors can send you in very many different directions, because a lot of times you're talking to an advisor, they haven't talked to you for a couple of weeks, a month, and you're dropping in, and then they just kind of shoot some idea at you. And it's interesting,
right?
But it might not be the right idea, because if you follow that could be very detrimental. I mean, they're just giving you advice and knowledge from what and you have to take it and you have to apply it to what you know and what the direction. You should have a kind of a strong direction, taking as much input as possible. Negative, positive, it's all good input. And it makes you kind of analyze, are you on the right track? And I think that's important. So like that idea, my background, like I said, I was always mandated by companies with very strict budgets to hit certain targets, hit deadlines, dates. And that mentality is just ingrained in my brain.
Right.
So having that background, I think, is great to work in this environment. So it's a back and forth. And then, of course, scientists will say, I have a discovery.
Right.
We should go. This is something new. Let's patent this. And you're like, okay, do we have the budget for
it? He helped me to keep me focused, because I'm like, I have many things in mind to do, but again, one thing at a time. Because if you come to invest or I have this idea, but then we have this. Okay, the first thing.
You have to be.
You can't scare the investor.
You have to have the mandate. What is the goal? What is the drug that you're trying to push to market? How much is it going to cost to bring this to a certain inflection point where people can, where there's value added with the liquidity event. These are very crucial points to investors, and you have to be very cognizant of these steps. As much as you can get excited about, they like that. They like that there's potential. There's more potential. There's more. Maybe you can go after more different targets. That's great, but at the same time, you still have to maintain that focus.
No, totally. I think coming up with idea is the exciting part, right? But every new idea opens new can of worms, because it does require proper nurturing. It does require, you have to invest a lot. Like if you have new idea, it comes with totally different sometimes GTM, like what is your go-to market motion, set of partners, your potential market, your potential territory to target. So the problem with too many different innovative ideas, which is not a bad thing, but you need resources.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
How do you scale?
Startup, you have you're competing with, let's say, $10 billion company with all the resources. And if you have 10 ideas with 10 people, you're not going to win.
Exactly.
So you need one thing and want to do really well.
Yeah, especially what we are doing, it can take a year to fully characterize therapeutic side effect, toxicity, mechanism of action. That is a long process. It's not like, and then you have many ideas like in their investor minds, like, okay, is how much money gonna cost? And they invest, but they want to see a real clear goal.
Right.
With they want to know how long they can see the return of their investment.
Right. I do want to talk a little bit more about your technology, but before that, I would love to learn, how do you start a biotech company? Right? How did you start it? Like if someone is listening to us talking, want to be an entrepreneur like you guys, and want to start a biotech company, like how they should go about it. Right? So how did you start it? You had your research, then you found some applications. So if you can dumb it down and explain step by step, how do you access lab space? How do you access talent? How do you find your co-founder? How you raise money? So all of that, if you can give like a step by step explanation, that would be awesome.
Yeah, in my case, it was a kind of by chance a discovery, and then from there we patented right away, and it was during my PhD program, and from that discovery went my former supervisor have that vision of it's something new. There's nothing in the market that can achieve that properties, and we should patent. We patent, but again, you have a patent and then can be in the university for many years. And from there, as I said, I didn't have the idea to start a company. I went for my PhD studies, postdoctoral study, and then I even work in the academia, in the it's academia hybrid at the government. Right. But it was after when my former supervisor moved to United States. And then he have many partners said, well, I'm contacting you because you always want to develop this technology, but if you can manage to get the patent in your company, I think Collin is more familiar with that process because he was with me during that time. Sure. And that was the opportunity. So we managed to get the patent out of the university.
It's like a tech transfer. You had your technology from your postdoc work?
Yeah, from my PhD work.
From your PhD work. And then how do you do the tech transfer to the company? Do you have to give something to university?
It was a year process working with lawyers. Wasn't that straightforward? But then the university assigned the license to our company. We just have to do a return 20% of my profit, not the company. So we have freedom to
profit at the time of exit or at the time of when the product is in the market?
When the product is in the market. But it's going to be a different technologies.
That was the early technology
research.
that we went on to do. But no, to get back to that, I think the first thing if you're talking to an entrepreneur, a young student or PhD, the first thing is determining, is this an academic research paper or is this a product? I think that's the biggest question, because you see a lot of people try to start companies that should never be companies.
Right.
They're not products.
Right.
They're more academic project.
They're academic product, and they're very interesting lines of research, fundamental research, but they're not monetizable products. It's not a drug. It's a research. It's a field of research, and that's a distinction that's very important to understand. And that you can do by talking to people. I think accelerators are a great step for that, to kind of go through the iteration of how can this research turn into a tangible drug, device, whatever you're planning on doing that, and trying to figure out the steps. Because it's funny, because we went to a lot of accelerators and we saw that process where at the end of the day, they didn't have a product. They didn't have a drug or they didn't have a device. They had a really interesting line of research that could lead to something eventually. So that's the first question you have to ask yourself. And then if you do, is this patentable? Second question, can I patent this? Then you have to find out what's out there. So that's when you have to speak with lawyers. You have to do a bit of research to see, is this a freedom to operate, if you can afford it. These are not cheap things to do. To do a limited version, you can even do yourself some research, looking at certain, going to USPTO, doing search words and trying to find out if something similar already exists in the market and can you patent it, talk to a patent lawyer. Once you have that in place, then you have the foundation of a potential company. And then you have all the other steps. That's just the beginning.
Yeah, but I want to understand the tech transfer process, right? So you're a supervisor and you saw the potential in the technology. Now, how do you transfer the technology from university?
That was a process. And what Collin say, in that case, I was working in translational research, which is the different versus fundamental research. When you're working in translational research, you have more chance to develop the application.
Right.
Okay. So coming back to the tech transfer, that was, we were part of the McGill's One program. And then as part of that program, the program assigned a year of free legal.
That was a great process.
Free legal assistance.
Yeah, it's a really great program. We're able to get, I think, one office hour a month with a legal firm, with an IP lawyer. So we're able to discuss our IP program, work with the tech transfer office. Most universities have a very standard template for tech transfer. So it's usually a percentage. It's pretty much, different deals, I guess, could be made depending who you are. But for the typical student or PI, I think they have each university has a very standard set of, rights, rules, and regulations as far as the IP goes, the assignment, and percentage of profit shared.
So the professor has to negotiate that
and
with
that
the university.
Was very rare in our case. Claudia was really fortunate because she had a really fantastic PI that understood the potential what this drug could be in the market and how it could really help people. And he was very gracious in this, that he assigned the IP to the company because he believed in it. And he also realized he didn't have time to develop it. So I think that's another issue with a lot of students. When it comes to investors. I know I'm jumping 5 steps down the road. But so let's just say you've got a great invention. You've got this novel idea, you've managed to patent it, you see a market, you've done your freedom to operate, you see, yes, we can patent this, we have a potential market, this could be XYZ value in the market. Now you have to go to the investors to say, listen, this is a great opportunity. We believe this could be a $1 billion drug on the market at some point. This is the valuation we're looking for. Then they're going to say, okay, what's your cap table look like? And you're like, well, you've assigned it from the university. This is a percentage. And then let's start going down the list and like, who's this person? Who's this person? Who's this person? And say, well, this is the PI and how much does he have? He owns 50% of the company. So what is he doing in the company? Well, he's not in the company. Yeah. And they're like, we can't invest in that company.
Yeah. That happened very often in many startups, And
so that's a difficult conversation. You have to realize investors will only invest in a company where everyone's working towards the goal. So anyone that has a piece of the on the cap table has equity in the company, they want to make sure that equity is working for them. They'll understand 10 to 15%. If it was a very noted PI that gave all the support and it was his lab, they'll accept that he could have 10 or 15% of the company. But when you get into higher percentages, they get very uneasy because they see a lot of equity going out the door, but they don't see where's the return from them. Who's building the company? Because what they understand is what a lot of young startups understand. There's so much blood, sweat, and tears ahead of you,
right?
And there's so much dilution ahead of you,
right?
That if people aren't 100% working towards the final goal, this is going to be very difficult. Or the founders are going to end up with no equity,
right?
So these are things that you have to sit down with the parties involved and work out an equitable agreement that's fair to everyone based on what they're going to put into the company.
Right.
And that's a conversation that you have to have with the parties that you're talking to.
No, I couldn't agree more. And one mistake I see in many companies is they issue ownership without any vesting schedule, right?
Yeah.
So ideally, if you have 3 co-founders, you want to make sure there's proper restriction for 1 year and 4 years or 5 years of vesting period. That's the best way to protect.
Yep.
Otherwise, if one co-founder leaves, you lose 1/3 of the company.
And he's on a beach somewhere.
Waiting
for a check. No,
tell me when it's sold.
And we saw many companies when we were in Berkeley Sky that have that situation because the invention comes from the PI. That won't give up their academic position, and then they are taking a big percentage of the company, and then investors like, it's part time. It's not even sometimes part time. It's like work like few hours a week. It's not fair for them.
In name only, and that's what the lawyers were very good with. Early on, the lawyers we were very fortunate to have very knowledgeable lawyers that said, "Listen, you're going to go into a raise, and you have to do your own internal housekeeping and make sure everyone's on the same page and you've got a clean cap table because that's going to help you raise faster. If you end up with these issues, you don't want to get to a term sheet and then people going, who's this person that owns 50%? I've never met him. And they're like, well, he's this is the lab we came out of. And they said, what's his position? He's the chief science officer? No. Is he the chief financial? No. Is he? No. You got a problem. And then you don't want problems on a signing of a term sheet. Right. That's really detrimental.
Yeah.
So that's one issue.
No, totally. Yeah. You're building Cura Therapeutics. and focusing on more immunotherapy. You use the term multimodal drugs that you are developing. So what is the core technology behind the company?
So we are developing multimodal and site-directed immunotherapies. It means that this treatment, in general, multimodal treatment are treatments that are able to address several components of a disease or several disease-associated mechanisms. So our treatment that don't go after one single target, go after a combination of targets. And that's the best strategy to address complex disease like cancer, for instance. How we achieve that? So once we apply the treatment, the fusion protein is able, the immunotherapy is able to recognize the immune cells that have the ability to kill those malignant cells and bring those immune cells to the site of the tumor. But at the same time, the fusion has the capacity to disrupt the blood vessel formation around the tumor. So now you have two mechanisms. You have the ability to activate the immune cells and also have the ability to disrupt the blood vessel formation. So for tumors to grow more than 2 millimeter volume, need to form new blood vessels that allows those tumors to grow more and form metastasis. So we are disrupting that mechanism. In addition, it's able to decrease the metastatic potential of malignant cells. So the fusion can reduce the epithelial cell, for instance, to become metastatic. They change the phenotype to a phenotype that have more migration ability. Increase the migration, change the phenotype to other phenotypes called mesenchymal cell. And I don't want to introduce many scientific terminology, but the fusion is able to reduce that transition from the epithelial phenotype, which is the closer to the healthy cell phenotype, to the malignant cell phenotype.
Makes sense. So if I have to dumb it down, you're saying your drugs will potentially target 3 mechanisms of action. One, it will attack the immune system.
The immune system
activate the immune system. Activate the immune system. Second is it will target cells so they cannot become malignant.
Exactly. Right? So and reduce the blood vessel density in the tumor.
Blood vessel density in the tumor. So again, that's the stage they have to go through to become malignant in nature.
So tumors to grow, to form metastasis, need to form blood vessels first around them, like inside them. So we can disrupt that mechanism. We decrease the malignant potential of the cell, and at the same time, the fusion is able to modify the tumor microenvironment. So tumor form a microenvironment around them that allow them to become resistant to treatment, to radiotherapy. So the fusion can reduce several factors that feed that tumor microenvironment. So counting, we are targeting 4 mechanisms right there.
4.
The immune cell activation, disrupting the blood vessel formation in the tumor, reducing the metastatic potential of malignant cell, and we also, with the fusion protein, can modify the tumor microenvironment and basically making less immunosuppressive, less resistant to other treatment like chemotherapy and radiotherapy.
That's pretty cool. Sounds like a super drug. What exactly is that molecule?
Exactly. All that because we are harnessing, the fusion is harnessing the immune system healing power, the immune system ability to heal and eliminate malignant cells, transform cells.
So what is that molecule? What is the molecule? I know some things are probably confidential, but for things that you can share.
Like layman terms.
Yeah, like layman terms, like a mix of like a conjugate, small molecule and large molecule.
Yeah, it's a biological. It's not super large. It's less than an antibody, for instance. The size is smaller, but it has the ability to. It's a component. Is a protein that attract immune cell, that activate immune cell, and the other component is like a GPS. GPS, but it's functional. Bring the protein and the immune system where the disease is. let's say in case of the tumor where the tumor is located, and in case of other assets, we have one for anti-pathogen infection, will bring the immune system where the infection is located. That decreases systemic toxicity and adverse effect.
I see. I understand many of these processes are probably confidential.
Yeah, but many drugs out there don't have that site-directed portion, and that provokes systemic toxicity because they don't act in the way local, more like systemic. And that's our distinction as well.
But how a drug can target multiple mechanism of actions at the same time, how can it do it?
It's kind of like
because what we apply the treatment, it triggers a cascade. So the only way, so far I know, is that ability to induce a cascade of events, like domino effect.
Mm-hmm.
So it triggers first the binding, but that leads to involve several immune receptors, trigger a cascade of reaction, but in a very local, organized, very synchronized way.
So what data do you have to show it has a potential to work?
Oh, we have a lot of validation in mouse model of pancreatic cancer, metastatic model of pancreatic breast cancer. We have in vitro data in lung cancer. We have also in vivo data, very high efficacy in colorectal cancer, all metastatic model. And we have a lot of also in vitro characterization that with normal immune cell and with immune cell derived from metastatic patient, metastatic cancer patient.
Like primary.
Yes.
So you tested in primary cells, you tested in more PDX, patient-derived xenografts? Or
no xenograft. In that case, we are using immunocompetent mice because we are targeting the immune system. So our mice that have that can be injected with the cancer cell and become tumor model of pancreatic, breast cancer, colorectal cancer, and then we treat those mouse model in vivo, and we look at the tumor volume over time. We achieve complete tumor regression. Yeah,
makes sense. So you mentioned different type of cancers.
Yes, it's tumor agnostic because, as I mentioned before, we are targeting the immune system. And so basically we are boosting the immune system reaction against cancer. And it's a specific program for the immune system. The immune system has several programs, but we are targeting the one that normally, if a person that are in contact with cancer, that we normally develop cancer cell many times, the immune system fight that. That's the program that we are targeting.
Makes sense. And you mentioned longevity as a potential use case too. So how is it related with this molecule?
Exactly. So studying all these, characterizing this chimeric protein for several years, we found other results that are applicable to longevity. So because we are targeting the immune system is able to differentiate between a healthy cell and a cell that is damaged. Those type of cells get accumulated as we age. Let's say people that are 80 years old have more level of those cells compared to someone that is 20 years old. And that leads to chronic inflammation, fibrosis, many type of age-associated diseases.
What's the scientific term for these zombie cells?
Senescent. And then our technology have the ability to target immune reaction against those senescent cells and fibrotic tissue.
I see. So you want the immune system to eat them.
Exactly. The immune system recognize where they are and eliminate them. But as we age, that process becomes more impaired. The immune system loses the capacity to eliminate those cells, and then those cells get accumulated in the tissue, in the organs, and then people start suffering of many aging-associated disease, including fibrosis, organ fibrosis, chronic inflammations, and lung fibrosis. And many.
So it's basically, if you're saying if you can clean up all these zombie cells from the body with proper sewage system.
Yeah.
By empowering immune system.
Exactly.
Then you can really work on anti-aging. You can help people stay younger for longer time.
With less debilitating diseases, kind of like happy immune system, happy life. So we're boosting, we're keeping the how can you say, the
boosting
immune system.
The immune system response to improve health span.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
Which
and our distinction is we are going after senescent cell and also after fibrosis. Right. So that strategic combination is more robust than going only after one of them.
Can I get like some supplement, like immunoboost shot every morning?
After we do the clinical trial, I can be candidate too. So.
I can be volunteer to clinical trial. You want to say something?
No, just to add to that, just saying that's the whole idea behind this is like keeping the immune system attuned, keeping it healthy. This drug has a way of targeting some of these negative factors in the immune system, whether they be metastatic cancer, fibrosis, senescent cells, that eventually help wear down your immune system. This is where these chronic diseases start to basically get a foothold in your body and lead to these debilitating diseases. So if we can prolong that, so at the age of 50, 60, 70, this is when you start to see these chronic diseases really take hold of your immune system, break down the immune system, and then you're more prone to other diseases, infections. It's just this whole cascade. Claudia can.
Yeah, it's called immunosenescence. Immunosenescence happen even before peripheral senescence. So the first system that gets senescence is our immune system. So our immune system loses the capacity to repair with the time. And by getting an impaired immune system, then you start seeing peripheral senescence. I'm talking skin senescence, aging, organ senescence. But when you have a young and robust immune system, the immune system will clear all that, will rejuvenate the organs and tissue. And another approach that is out there is not sustainable is people that get blood from younger people. But it's because they are getting the immune cell from younger person, but it's not sustainable. You depend on blood transfusion.
Does it work? I heard many billionaires are going to.
Yes.
Listen, the logic behind it does make sense. It's a bit ghoulish, but it does make sense because you're getting these fresh immune cells in your body.
Yeah, and the other is a blood marrow transplant, but it's still when you have organs that are already fibrotic, it's harder to just rejuvenate those organs based only by transplanting the stem cell.
Right.
And you have an aging immune system and you get blood stem cell transplant, won't solve too much for a very short period of time. However, you have a strong immune system, rejuvenate immune system that could clear and rejuvenate the organs.
I wonder if intermittent fasting has any impact on zombie cells. Right?
Exactly. That's one way to prolong the health span, because when you are doing that, you're basically boosting you don't have any nutrients, so your system is eating those bad cells as well.
Right.
But again, it's a remedy to prolong a health span, but I don't know. It's really hard to do it. That you can really expand increase the health span for 10 years.
Right. And
you can prolong the health span for sure.
Right.
But then increase longevity, 10 years, only doing fasting. Nobody has proved that yet.
I think I read that it also leads to losing your hair faster. So, use a trick.
I'm losing it, yeah. I do intermittent fasting. So you can get hair transplant.
That's true. It's true.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But the idea is to treat the body from inside, to rejuvenate from inside the immune system our immune system has evolved over 500 million years. So have the ability to really repair, to cure, to remodel organ and tissue.
That's a very sophisticated, intelligent system, our immune system, like it's 500 million years of evolution. It's crazy.
It's what can keep us alive at the daily basis. It's what protect you against all the, diseases, invading pathogen, bacteria that we are in contact all the time.
Right.
But as we age, that capacity decrease.
Makes sense. At this stage, how do you think about administration of the drug, like how the drug will look, especially if you talk about boosting the immune system to reverse aging? Do you at this stage, do startups think about the formulation or how the drug will look, or do you think it's too early?
No, actually, it's not too early. Let's say for young entrepreneurs, they have an invention. You have to start thinking all these steps from the day one. Because the way that we design is to apply IV for, close interaction with immune cells. Doesn't mean that can be applied for intradermal or other path. But we are going with that path first.
More injection.
Yeah. And that will impact the manufacturing. So all the formulation after the biomanufacturing.
Yeah, we're putting a big focus on that right now. Yes. So a lot of it's cell line development, manufacturing, looking at all the endpoints for that. That's what is the big lift right now. Because once we validated in preclinical models, extensively characterized in vitro and in vivo, we're seeing efficacy and safety. But now the next big hurdle is the manufacturing process. Mm-hmm. So now we're spending a lot of time working on optimizing it so we can get it ready for the clinic. That's the next big lift that we're doing right now.
Yeah, and also in this process, we have to do a lot of analysis, replicability from batch to batch. Mm-hmm. There are many parameters that we have to accomplish before starting clinical
trials. CDMOs, more specialized CDMOs.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. And conditions, also even temperature of the drug. All these things have to be factored in. Stability. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're working on right now. And that's a great thing. I think the market's opened up so much. It's accessible now for startups. Right. Because we only got into this industry the last 4 or 5 years, but I would be certain to say probably 20 years ago, it would be impossible for a young startup to get into a manufacturing contract. And now there's so many different CDMOs for different stages of companies. There's ones that can do your early preclinical work, very small batches, like these little bioreactors on the bench. And as you scale your business, there's different CDMOs that can kind of go with you at different sizes before you get to the larger Catalans and the Lonzas, where you're doing industrial batches for 100,000 people. So that's really interesting. It's allowed us to scale our product from very early batches, very early experimental, to now getting into later stage of cell line development and working with CDMOs has been really advantageous.
But at this stage, you will manufacture or develop to support clinical trials.
Exactly.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
And how far are you from that stage?
Right now, we're just moving our cell line development into a GPM.
GXP environment.
GLP
facility. And
it's not GMP yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're in the process of moving from GLP into a GMP manufacturer.
Got it. Okay.
So we're just working on our cell line optimization. This process, as we do our GLP studies, is about a 12 to 18 month process.
Right. Mm-hmm. Love it. So there's ChatGPT moment, right? It happened a few years ago. And we are talking about impact of AI in all industries, right? From fintech, biotech, you name it, right? So what's the impact on drug discovery? Is there any use case that where you are seeing the impact of AI or in your day-to-day work? So where do you see the biggest impact of AI in biotech or in your drug discovery process?
Yes, for us, actually, it's a great tool. We use it at the beginning of discovery for protein modeling, but the major application will be later when we start collecting patient samples for biomarker study, because the amount of data that we need to process is huge. Right. So with that tool, we can really narrow the type of the biomarker that we need, the one that are established, and the more effective one. And we can even identify the patient cohort that can get the most benefit for the treatment. So I think it's a great tool for drug discovery, but for us, the major impact will be later when we start in the clinic, because we can use it for many processes, for even the design of the clinical trial protocol. We will be doing that after a biomarker study that we can include, let's say, 50 to 80 patients. We don't need more than that because there are already companies with huge database that have AI implemented that can include that in a bigger data set of thousands of patients and come out with the biomarker or the parameters that we really need to follow for the clinic. So that would be a great application in our drug development.
It's more to interpret. First, you said designing clinical trial protocol or to interpret data, not just from your clinical trial, but also I'm sure there's like public data about related drug already in the market.
Yeah.
Right? So to draw some comparison.
Yes, there are already companies that have huge data set that based on, let's say, metastatic cancer or other diseases that have AI incorporated.
What type of companies?
We know few here in. There is one, Tempus, in California.
Tempus.
Yeah, they have huge models, incredible. From metastatic cancers, cancer indications, tumors. It's incredible data
massive
sets.
Like
you can buy a license to...
And they can set up, they can actually set up, I don't want to do it commercially, but they can also set up special experiments for you as well. They can set up research programs based on the biomarkers that you're looking for. There's capacity there.
Yeah, they mainly are data analysis company.
But they can generate.
They can integrate your data, and
take your data.
You don't need to go and recruit collect 100 patient sample. You can go with lower sample size and integrate that in a bigger data set.
Any of their competitor, to be fair, like what Tempus does? Is there any other competitor in this space?
In immuno-oncology, many. It's like
no, not your competitor. Like Tempus competitor. Any other providers that can support similar things?
Yeah, there are many companies doing that right now. The problem is like the one that gonna win are the one that have the biggest data
sets. Yeah,
I see.
They are competitive in that space.
Offhand, we meet so many people. Like we get solicited a lot, so it'd be hard to like. We've gone through many different meetings and looked at different decks of different companies, the various going about it different kind of ways, but in the same kind of wheelhouse.
Sure. And these companies have real world data, like RWE?
Yeah, they are. They have. They get data from many sources, mainly hospital, and then study by collaborating with other companies like us. They get integration more because AI is more you feed better, the more information you get. So they are a company established for several years now.
Right. What I'm seeing impact of AI is also on companies' earlier stages where they treat their data more like an asset.
Yes.
Right? They're 100%. Building their own machine learning model, their AI model. So for them, they are thinking earlier, like they want to make sure they can learn from their historical data. They can talk to their historical data and they can train with every experiment they run. They can train their AI model with that data, right? And that's how they become a platform company. And so when they get acquired, big pharma or other biotech companies,
they have the data set.
They're not just going to get their assets, drug products, but they will also get their proprietary primary data sets. So they can train their own AI model, right?
Yeah,
so very soon we will see all biotech companies, all pharma companies, they will value the company based on 5 assets in clinic, R&D, preclinical, but they will also value the company based
on the data.
Based on proprietary models,
in-house
data sets.
Mhm.
So that's the direction I'm seeing. And yeah, any other use case you can think of?
No, I mean, I agree with you there. I mean, I read a lot of articles talking about the data is the value. So there is a question for us too, and we've had that issue about sharing our data with companies. And well, there is the value of the data that we've already generated to this point, and
Right.
developing our own model. Eventually, it's something that we want to do more. And right now, we're
Right.
using it more as a tool.
Right.
But down the road, some of these, how can you say, lots of research and data we're collecting. Eventually, we want to build those models as we go along. But right now, we're so focused on the clinic. We're focused on
which makes sense
on the clinic at this point. But these are things that as companies grow, that definitely is part of the product.
I think that's why I think companies generating their own primary data will become much more valuable than like how we value the company today, because every company is AI company these days, right? All they do is they build a wrapper around OpenAI or Azure AI or Google's AI. But if you really need some competitive edge or want to give new skills to AI, you need proprietary data set with very specific focus. So companies generating their own primary data, there's not enough awareness, unfortunately, but most companies generating their fresh data, they will become much more valuable if they prioritize it at some point. I know for startups, it's very hard. They have specific milestone to close their next round. But I think when they're mature enough, most companies will start focusing on data sets.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's something we talk about internally a lot because, of course, we get all these companies that want to collaborate with us. And they're like, share your data. And I'm saying the data is the value. So we're not just, that's contentious because eventually this could be fed into our own models.
Right.
And this could eventually be useful to other companies. So there is a monetization factor to be put into there as we generate these larger data.
Like even when we use enterprise version of OpenAI, the clear contract terms that they cannot train their global models with it.
They're not supposed
to. I hope so, yeah. But no, it makes sense. And because what I hear is it's not just about data on what works, right? Everyone is talking about what worked. It was efficacious enough. It was safe enough. But what about all the failed experiments, right? That's arguably more important that we don't learn from, because ideally, if we know what doesn't work, new biotech companies hopefully will not have to reinvent the wheel. We know this didn't work, let's move on. But then we have to solve other challenges too. We want to make sure research is more reproducible, right? But that's more the problem in academia. But
yeah, exactly. And that should be the first thing to, like, you learn more from failure, the things that didn't work or the experiment that failed, than the one that succeed.
Right.
Because then you can iterate and change your strategy based on the lesson that you got from.
Totally.
Yeah, and more another level for the clinic, in all the treatment that didn't work in the clinic, that failed and caused toxicity, or those should be in that database as well.
100%. Yeah.
It could be another group, another category, but should be there so people know. Okay, when I'm using AI, they know, the investigator know. Okay, if I do this strategy, it's gonna fail.
Right.
That should be recorded as well, because that's where we learn the most.
Totally. If we can switch gears, I would love to talk about process to FDA approval, going to market. So what's your plan? How will you take this molecule that you have some promising data from in vitro, in vivo? You're planning for manufacturing, clinical trial. How will you take this molecule to market? How many years will it take? Because drug discovery, drug development is a long-term game. It can take a decade in general. But in your case, what's your plan? How will you take this to market?
Yeah, in our case, because we are targeting metastatic cancer, it's advanced disease, and we have also pancreatic cancer. Some of those regulatory paths are faster because the disease situation is hard to treat. There is no other treatment that really increase the survival 50% or above. Like there is a path that is called
like a priority.
Yes, priority.
That's orphan drug.
There's orphan drug designation as well for treatment for disease. In particular, there are cancer as the disease progresses. In many cases, become orphan drug because the number of people that suffer is less than 200,000.
200,000.
It had to be less than 200,000
to qualify as orphan.
To qualify an orphan drug.
So, do you have any focus of disease indication?
We are designing that. We plan to bring as a basket trial for first phase of clinical trial that include 3 or 4 cancer indications. But also in the meantime, we are applying for orphan drug designation. That, as I said, depending are attached to diseases due to the progression of the disease. And let's say metastatic cancer phase 3 and 4, depending on the cancer type, sometimes less than 200,000 people that suffer of that. And that make it as...
Sure. When you get orphan drug status from FDA, how does it impact? Meaning you need less number of patients
Less number of patients, you can go through the timeline, the amount of trials they have to do gets shortened. So that's something that we will be applying for, fingers crossed, in the next 6 to 12 months in that process. And once you have that designation, that can also help you with fundraising because it shows you have a faster path to the clinic and a faster path to an NDA, to a final approval. For us, of course, we kind of have laser vision. We're really focused on what's in front of us. And I know at the same time, we are thinking of the big picture. For us is to get the clinical data. That's really the most important. And we're looking from 2 years for the first year and a half, 2 years to inpatient. And then to get to a phase 2, we're looking at about a 5-year stretch before we get that phase 2 clinical data readout. And with that, we will have a very, robust package that we'll be able to interface with pharma. We're already talking to pharma now. The idea would be to do our phase 1 to show our safety and our toxicity. And then we can talk about potential partnerships and collaborations with big pharma. We've reached out, and some pharmas reached out to us to start preliminary conversations. But those conversations really become more, interactive once we get a little bit further down the development stage. So for us, the heavy lift is to get into the phase 1 clinical trial. That's where we're focused, doing that mainly with venture capital. And then eventually, through that process, start the conversations for potential co-development or partnerships, working with companies that have pipelines that are aligned to our drug development indications of interest that would fit very well into their pipeline. Fortunately, there's many companies that are working on metastatic cancer and solid tumors. So there's a lot of large pharma that would be very interested in the asset as we get further down and we de-risk it further. As it is a new biologic, there's a big emphasis on safety. So we have to prove that the safety markers, that everything is tolerated. And we're showing very strong efficacy, but we also want to show that there's a safety there, especially anything that's new and novel in the market.
Yeah, that's the major challenge, because once you come out with a new treatment, a new modality, they really want to see the safety profile is covered.
100%.
And then once you have that data, it's easier to interact and form partnership with a big pharma company that will develop the product phase 2, 3, which is the capital is capital intense.
And part of our strategies, we're looking at this as a monotherapy, of course, but there is a lot of synergy with other drugs that we're testing in vivo models. So eventually we could see this potentially doing combination, maybe chemo or with an anti-PD-1. We've seen incredible incredible synergy with really hard to treat cancer indications that are not tolerated or resistant in pancreatic cancer and certain kinds of metastatic melanoma and breast cancer that where anti-PD-1 is not working very well. And when we combined our drug and mouse models, we're seeing a lot of synergistic effect where both drugs together are working very well to shrink the tumor. So that could be very exciting for a lot of pharma, I think.
Right. But even if you can boost or activate the immune system, that's valuable enough with other treatments.
Yeah, and those type of partnership when they combine two drugs, let's say one that they want to keep in their pipeline with another one that boosts the efficacy is more attractive for that type of, especially for chemotherapy that sometimes patients receive high doses. If we combine with a drug that really boosts the immune system response, you don't need that high level of chemotherapy.
And how do you know what data you need for FDA? Do you work with FDA? Or do you have meetings scheduled with them?
Yeah, at this point, we're working to put a package together to do a pre-IND meeting where we'll discuss the data set that we are proposing. And based on the conversations we have with them, either they will approve or disapprove. Hopefully they'll approve. And that takes a lot of preparation in the background. So we're working with consultants, developing the package that we're going to present with them, looking at the studies that we're going to show our safety and our tox profile. And then from that, if everything goes to plan, we'll continue with the experiments and with the GLP tox studies that we're doing. And then within 12 months from then, we'll be able to apply for first in patient human trials.
Makes sense. Before you apply or you have your package ready, is there any line directly to FDA? You can work with them.
Normally, you can interact with them before applying. You can ask for meetings. It's called pre-IND meetings, and they can suggest, they can do a preliminary revision of your package and suggest additional experiments before you send the final.
Yeah, that's where we're doing right now. We're preparing that, working with consultants. And through that process, you open up a line of dialogue. So, we're very fortunate. One of our advisors was a senior FDA regulatory advisor at the FDA for over 20 years.
25 years.
Yeah, 25 years. So she's been very good about talking about timing. Timing is everything. You don't want to go too early when you're not ready, and you don't want to go too late when you've already spent so much money in experiments where they might be like you're going down the wrong path. We would have preferred to see you do this than that. You don't want to admit that. So she says, good to start early. When you're ready. So it's kind of finding that time. And I think that's where we are right now. We're in the position where we're ready to start that dialogue. And she says a lot of people are kind of frightened of going, when to go, and they do more than they need to. She said she sees being an FDA regulatory advisor, she sees that a lot of companies have gone almost too far in their development when they didn't need to. So she encourages people. When you're ready and you have a plan, and you talk to it, and it's well laid out, go to the FDA, discuss it with them, have it prepared, and from there you can start an open dialogue. And since it's not a one-time thing, sometimes you can go back. There are processes where you can kind of go back and forth a little bit before you find, because you don't want to, how can you say, submit your IND and then have them say you've got holes in your proposal. So yeah, that's a dialogue. And I think having an advisor, we're very fortunate to have an advisor who has FDA experience, is kind of guiding us on that path of when is the right time to approach them and to have that open dialogue. Have them as a partner almost.
Makes sense. We will do like a rapid fire section. So you started the company in the middle of pandemic. We at SciSpot also started the company in the middle of pandemic. So it was a very different experience with a software company. People were still open to work remotely. But how was it as a biotech company to start in the middle of pandemic when everything was closed?
Yeah, that was really interesting. We had actually just came off the Berkeley Skydeck demo day. So we were at this big demo day with 600 investors, a lot of pomp and ceremony, a lot of excitement in the air. We'd lined up about 15 meetings with different VCs office in Sand Hill Road and all over the Bay Area. So we're really excited. This was great. And that, I think, was about February.
2020.
Yeah, that was about a week or two just before the whole world shut down.
Yeah.
So we had to do some paperwork back in Montreal with some lawyers. So we flew back to Montreal 2-3 days. After that, the world shut down. Mm-hmm. So the border shut down. All the meetings that we had got canceled. Wow. Basically, everyone said, we're kind of a triage. We have to work with our companies that we've invested in and, come back to us in a few months. We don't know what's going to happen. So fortunately, I had run a company through 2 major crises earlier in 2000 after September 11th, and also during the financial crisis of 2008. Mm-hmm. So I said to Claudia, we can only control what we can control, and the rest is out of our hands. And right now, the world's going to shut down. So let's just really focus on the science. Let's focus on the patents. Let's write grants. Let's do what's in our capacity, mm-hmm. To keep pushing this company forward. Because we don't know what's going to happen. At then it was, you were probably in the same experience. People didn't know what the future was going to look like. We're all stuck inside apartments right now. No one can go outside, especially in Canada. So we just continued to work on our scientific experiment plans. Claudia worked on the essays. I worked on grant proposals. We did actually, it was the best thing we should have been doing. That was the real focus, because that actually prepared us for the investors. We basically looked at all the things we needed to be investment ready. And then, as we all know, within about 6 months after that, the kind of biotech became huge.
Right.
The focus came back to biotech. So we were able, and then people started using Zoom. So working over, teleconference became accepted form of communication. We actually did most of our investment deals virtually. Mm-hmm. We hadn't even met our investors. Not all of them. We mm-hmm. had met some of them, but some of them we did just pure virtually, just through meetings and due diligence. So that was a learning curve. But I think that the key takeaway there is that no matter what the situation around you is, just focus laser vision on what you want to do.
Right.
What is the process? What is the path? You can't control the exterior, what's going on around you. There's always going to be some kind of situation, whether it's economic or who knows. So we just kind of put blinders on, just focused on making the company better, making the IP better, working on an experiment plan, getting ourselves investment ready.
Right.
And that was the right, way to strategy to go for it, because otherwise we've just been sitting there fretting that all our investors didn't want to meet with us.
Yeah.
And
as a result of that, we got granted patents that we did several patent applications. And today we have 5 granted patents mm-hmm. and another 13 submission for national market, major market. So that was a good, time management of the time by then. That was a very unpredictable situation. And that's now we are really advanced because, as you know, patent is the major product for a biotech company. So that was a major achievement, and we received the last patent recently that is granted in the U.S.
Yeah, and during that process also, we applied to a few programs. Mm-hmm. It was fantastic. When the whole world was shut down, they'd opened up a new program called Admiral.
Mm-hmm. In Montreal or Toronto?
Montreal. So we'd applied to many accelerators during that process, and grants and IRAP and METAC. We just sat down and started writing our grants. And all that hard work, basically, we didn't go anywhere for 3 months. So all we did was work inside 24/7. And then it's like all the fruits of our labor, all of a sudden we start getting applications back, and people starting wanting to meet with us about these grant proposals. We got into the Admiral Accelerator program, which was fantastic for us. That opened up like a turnkey solution.
Right.
It was in the middle of COVID, so the labs were like half empty. It was quiet. We just got to work. We just put our nose to the grindstone. There was nowhere to go out, no restaurants, no activities, no social life. So it was actually, in some ways, it sounds bizarre to say, but it was actually really made us super focused on our work, which probably sped up our milestones.
The whole pandemic experience was very insightful in a way too. Like, we always knew humans make decisions within few seconds when they meet someone, like their future team member or their investment, like where they want to invest. Investors were writing checks after like 15 minutes of Zoom call, like 1 million, 5 million checks. So So yeah, I mean, we always knew humans make decisions when they meet someone within few seconds, if they want to work with them or not. And I think pandemic made it very clear.
Supercharged that,
yeah. Let's do few rapid fire question, if it is okay. One. Before I start reading out one question I always ask founders. When you start a business, you make many mistakes, right? I personally made many mistakes I'm not proud of, but I learned a lot throughout the journey. So if you were to start Cura Therapeutics today, what would you do differently?
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's a good question. And as you said, always people make mistakes at the beginning. And the first mistake that we made was the manufacturing, based on someone recommended work with that CROs because have good reputation. So we did that and
manufacturing what?
Of the product.
Okay.
Because we have to manufacture the product before start any preclinical study. So that was a mistake. I learned that we have to do more research about the collaborator, which organization you are selecting to partner before, don't follow recommendation, do your own research. Because this CRO that we work it's a CRO in California specialized in biological, but in antibody. No experience, no track record with recombinant protein, and they really damaged my product. But that is like in part I blame myself because we didn't do more research. We just follow someone recommended. Oh yeah, they have good reputation, and there was lack of interaction.
How would you do it? How would you do research? Now you can go to ChatGPT.
Yeah, everything. You go online, you research what are the clients, what the type of production. You sit down with them, go through, ask many questions. There are many ways to really know what.
Proper through RFP process.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, ask for the white papers, projects. You can even talk to clients sometimes. Talk to clients. Like you just do your due diligence, basically.
Right. Exactly. Luckily, an investor would do.
Luckily, that was at the beginning. I think the first
that
week
was at the
we were
beginning.
green. It was a very small budget. We did a very small run, but it was a good. Actually, sometimes failures are the best.
Right.
Because an early fast failure sometimes teaches you so much about. You don't want to make that down the road.
Totally.
And that was a good learning lesson. And we've learned a lot of those lessons along the way. Everything from, our investors warned us, especially after we got our raise. He said, all of a sudden, people are going to come out of the woodwork.
Right.
And there's going to be like consultants that want to work for you and this. And he goes, just again, do your due diligence. Make sure anything when you bring people into your team, make sure these are people who are going to add value to your company.
Totally.
Because you're going to get a lot of people coming all of a sudden to say they can do this, they can do that, they can help you do this, they can help you raise money, whatever the situation is. Those were learning curves,
Totally. I think one bad partner or hire can hurt the company a lot, right? So it's a sports team.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a sports team, your core team internally and also your external partner.
Mm-hmm.
So you need players who will help you win.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
you want to fail fast.
Yeah.
Right. You don't want to lose all the matches before you make a tough decision. So I think partners, core team member, you want to really see it like a sports team. And I learned this hard way.
Yeah, and have always a dynamic communication. Interaction, because especially when you work with collaborators, that they have their milestone and they go and they see you once a month. That's really bad.
Aligning incentives.
Aligning incentives, 100%. And again, that all came out of that first experience that failed miserably. It made us realize this is not how we want to work.
Right.
We want, after that, the next year, we said we want an open dialogue of communication. Mm-hmm. We want to let us know if something's going wrong. Let's build this partnership together. We can change it as needed, but we want to have that communication. And those are the kind of partners that we started working with. And so very successful.
Yeah.
Alrighty. What is one habit you have adopted that has made the biggest impact on your productivity?
don't put off today what you can do tomorrow. No, was it don't put off today what can be done tomorrow? And that is, as an entrepreneur, you constantly have new challenges and new fires to put out every single day.
Right. Yeah, don't leave it for the next day.
If you leave it the next day, there's going to be 2 fires to put out tomorrow.
Right.
So that I think as an entrepreneur, you really have to be on the ball all the time, mediating all the problems that are in front of you
in
advance, kind of like heading things off before they happen. It's very important.
And be ready because opportunity, you don't know when it's going to happen. You have to be ready, your deck ready, your presentation, your data, you have to be ready and work for that all the time.
Like it. I think we're on the same page. I always say, as an entrepreneur, you have to be overly optimistic. You don't want to self-reject things before others reject you, right? So like you said, you don't know when it will work. So you want to be hopeful, optimistic all the time, and
have everything. I have that mindset that anything that you need to improve, do it. Don't wait days. Do it as soon as possible. Because you don't know where the opportunity is going to show up.
Yeah, when it shows up. You don't want to be unprepared. Exactly.
Totally. For both of you, if you have to bet your entire career, your professional life, on one biotech trend, what will it be?
I would say immuno-oncology. Immuno-oncology and age-associated disease.
Age-associated disease. Okay.
Because now I think there is a new trend, and of course the diseases are still there, cancer is still there, but I will go with immunotherapy. Because as I said, all these years that studying, what I learned the most is we have a solution in our body. We just have to really explore and find a way to treat all the disease with
Love it. Totally. You, Collin?
Well, I'm on this journey now. So, I think this path of immunology that Claudia's mentioning and boosting the immune system as a way to mitigate disease and a way to mitigate some negative factors of aging is really that, and the convergence of technology that allows us to do that. Totally. These 2 things, bioscience, and the tools that are coming out to help us speed up these processes and discoveries is really for us. I have a son. I'm trying to convince him that he should become a bioengineer, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I mean, this is like I guess that's the most honest answer. I want my son to do this, so it's definitely the way I see the future going right now.
Totally. Last 2 questions. How do you see the future of biotech evolving in the next decade?
I think biotech will gonna be in the now and in the future for many years, because if we want to stay in this planet for longer period of time, we want to not only biotech for the human body in general, for plants, animals, we have to protect all the living things. And the best way is to find solutions, to always invent new things that keep our planet alive.
Totally. I think we have many, if not all, the solutions hidden somewhere in biological
systems. There's still a lot of things to solve, but...
Makes sense. Last question. What one controversial opinion you have about the future of biotech or innovation?
Controversial opinion? Oh, yes. I think that knowledge, we have to really get the knowledge as human beings. Incorporate AI, but not rely 100% on AI.
What do you mean by knowledge?
Like knowledge
from I kind of on the same page.
What the human brain can bring.
We don't have to just train the AI models, we have to train the brain model.
Yeah.
So I think people still need to study very hard and do a lot of research and really understand the tools and be able to use the tools to speed up or enhance. But I think still the fundamental research and the understandings, people still have to do that. It has to be human knowledge that propels us. I don't think that we can rely just on
100% on machine.
You hand over the reins in the sense it's going to be the tools and the technologies that are going to help us use our abilities to make these incredible breakthroughs.
No, I think AI should help us do more things.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
It frees us up to do more of the discovery and the experimentation and really use our imaginations to really...
Totally. Because even to leverage AI, you need strong foundations. You need like basics of mathematics, you need basics of programming, you need basics of biology. Hopefully in the future, we will not have specialists in one thing. We will be able to become specialists in 10 things. So we can leverage AI to do those things for us, right? So
AI renaissance.
AI to work for us, not the other way.
Exactly.
Totally. We don't want to lose control.
Exactly.
Right? If you rely on AI,
it can be disastrous.
Well, I heard a very scary statistic. I don't know if this is true, so don't quote me on this.
Right.
They said I guess I'm being quoted.
Yeah.
They were saying 90% of students at university were using AI to write their papers. And I think that's really sad. In the sense that, yes, of course, there's certain aspects of it, but they should still do a lot of the research and committing to the study.
Totally. I think AI is amazing for curation, for polishing up the thing.
The polishing,
right?
Yeah.
For group information, to find information.
But they were talking about students that were just using it, and they were just basically finding ways to edit it so the professors couldn't track it. And that, you're just failing yourself.
Totally.
And that scares me a little bit. And I try to instill that in my son also, that, the knowledge is the reward.
Totally. So, I think last 10 years, we gave too much priority on polishing things, right? Or improving the front end more. But I think now AI can do that much better than us.
Yes.
It can write articles much better than us.
I polish my articles all the time.
Yeah.
But I still write them.
We need originality, right? Originality cannot be replaced. Primary data that labs are generating, that cannot be replaced. It can interpret AI, right? For example, in news reporting, right? So if you see people on the ground reporting directly, giving you this primary data, that cannot be replaced. Yeah, but when they write those reports, AI can polish it up, right? So anything that's primary will become more valuable, and because AI can do all the polishing up stuff.
Yeah. We don't want to lose that. Like we should be, as human, the one that control the situation.
We want to remain masters.
We don't want
I think there's something. I mean, I know it's a whole other branch of conversation, but there's a certain, human creativity is unmatched, and the ability to ask questions that have never been asked or to think out of the box. That's a truly human, and we have to use these tools to leverage that.
Right. But thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks for reaching out.
What you're doing is very impactful. Hopefully it will save millions of lives, and hopefully it will make millions of people look younger or feel younger too.
Inside.
So inside. So thank you for doing all the inspiring work.
Well, thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Happy to do it.